Welcome to
You Matter.
In Business.
Your hosts today are Ariel and Miriam. Your brand, your story, and your success.
Because you matter in your business.
Hi, and welcome back to You Matter in Business. And today, me and Ariel, or is it Ariel and me? Me and Ariel are going to be talking about our ideal client. Hi, Ariel.
Hi, Miriam.
So I think that you and I probably share very similar ideal clients. So talk to me about why you think it's really important to identify who are ICA. So that's ideal client avatar. So why is it really important to establish who that is, do you think, in business?
When we are creating marketing campaigns, marketing material, when we're trying to go on to social media, when we're going on different platforms like even LinkedIn and even the different platforms, you have to use a slightly different language. And different visuals attract different people. So if you don't identify who you are trying to attract, who your ideal client is, who the person you want to work with is, then you're just kind of guessing. You're throwing out all this stuff. You're finding a cool template on Canva and you're saying, "Hey, universe, call me." And that doesn't work anymore in today's world. So we have to, as business owners, identify really who we want to work with and then the why we want to work with that particular audience. And there might be variety in that. So you may need to develop more than one, client avatar, because you might have, depending on your service or your product, you might have a couple different people that you work with it, but you want to keep that limited so your messages becomes clear. Did that help? What do you want to add to
that? No, I think that's good. But I think, so fundamentally, you actually need to find out where they are first. So where is your ideal client? So are they on Facebook? Are they on Instagram? Are they on TikTok? Or are they down at the local pub? So that you can work out, I think, exactly where you're going to position yourself on social media, or is it just through your website, or is it just through email campaigning? So I think you need to work out who your ideal client is, and then where you're going to meet them as well. And that might change your messaging. As you say, you might say it in a slightly different way if you're on TikTok or from an email campaign. So it's getting it right. It's getting that. So how do you do that? How do you work out who your ideal client is?
Well, there's a process of analyzing your services, and to not get too technical, but you also have to figure out whether are you a local service base, or are you a service that it can be, obviously, if you're coaching, you can do coaching through Zoom and you can do it everywhere, right? So your potential has a larger demographic. If you're doing something like what I
As a
do,
photographer, you pretty much have to be together with them in a local area.
So now I can still travel to a client if they would like me to come help them, but my general demographics are going to be more local, just for ease, right?
Yeah.
So that's a practical part of demographics, but it's also, are they a client that has more resources? Are they a business owner, or are they just a consumer?
Okay. So is it business to business, or is it business to customer? So
yes.
So okay.
And that will create a different set of who you're targeting to.
So when you were first developing your business, you obviously you major on women. So what made you do that? What made you niche down to women business owners?
This gets into some other subjects we're going to talk about in the next couple of weeks, but when you start to analyze your own brand message persona, which is a whole nother conversation, but when you start to analyze some of those inner factors, then you start to realize who you work best with, right? So if my ideal client is a person who is somebody I understand. And why do I understand them? Because we've had similar experiences. We've We've maybe gone through similar stages of life. I might be
Hmm.
in front of them, but I've already walked the walk. So
Hmm.
I understand the complexities of the needs. So that
Hmm.
will then help me talk more clearly to my audience because I know that I know them because
Yeah.
I've a lot of times your ideal client is very similar to you, especially if you're a service-based business. Not
Yeah.
exactly like you, but they share similar goals, similar ethics. Just an odd thing, but it's true. They might even have it's just, so all of the things, there's so many components Am I gonna help them right at that moment? Only depends on, whether their marketing budget allows. It really that's business. That's all about numbers. So I don't take that personal, but I can still help them get to where they need to go in a small way when they're ready for the bigger, then they can go for it. So you can still help people along the journey, even take small steps to lead them to bigger ones.
Build that relationship with them so that when they are at that point in their buying journey, that you're the person that they automatically go to because they've seen what you can offer and know that they like you and they trust you and that you're the person that they can buy from. Funny, isn't it? You have to both be at that right point at the same time in order to be able to make the sale, if you like, but to solve their problem.
Yeah. And that has a level of frustration to it.
Yeah, doesn't it? Yeah.
Because you might know that you can really help someone, but they're not ready to take that help,
Yeah.
or they're not ready to, start that journey because the journey is scary. The journey is
Yeah.
frightening. Anytime we put ourselves in front of change, there's fear, and
Hmm.
if we don't know how, and that's where you come in, you help people overcome that fear.
Overcome that fear. Yeah.
Right.
And
I
every
help
step.
people overcome fear of some things, but not all things. But you know what's really funny about fear? The more
Go
you
on.
do what you fear, the less you fear.
Mm,
The more you see fear as almost it's information. It tells me I'm uncomfortable. Is it something I need to flee from? Like, it's like a serious, like my house is about to fall down. Well, obviously I'm moving then, right? So
yeah.
that's real fear, right? Act. And then there's, okay, this I'm uncomfortable, but I want to get to this end of this line. I want to get to the top of that mountain. The only way through is to climb it. So I don't get to the goal unless I go through the fear.
So is that like cognitive behavior therapy that the more you do something, the more you can control it, or the more you can get over it? It's like I'm absolutely petrified of spiders, and I think the more you experience spiders, the more you have to put them out because your kids are also frightened of spiders, or that kind of deadens that fear, doesn't it? I
Can
don't
I
think
tell
we've
you a
ever.
funny story about spiders?
Yeah, good.
'Cause it, like, totally fits in here. Now, in Florida, and I don't know if you've seen these guys yet, but they are a part of our life here in Florida, and they are
You're scaring me.
not my favorite spider, but I used to live in a house where we had a lot of oaks all around us, and when it rained really hard, these guys would come in. They don't live in a house. They're not a house spider, but they will
Okay.
come in because it's too wet outside, and
Okay.
they're about this big.
Oh, well, no one else can see that, but that's big. That's like this palm of my hand.
It's
That's
the
big.
the leg reach is really long. They're not as big as a tarantula, but their leg reach is very big. So they're not a spider that you will smile at when it comes to see you, but they don't harm you. They're not gonna bite
Oh,
you. Yeah, they don't
okay.
harm you, but they're just scary looking, and they're furry and they look ferocious, and
What are
anyway,
they
they're called
called?
wolf spiders.
Oh, well, okay. I've
Okay,
heard of
so
them.
here's what I did, and I actually did this, and this was an experiment. This is years ago, but we had killed one, because they come into my house, that's, like, the line, that's my line. I will respect you in your house, you just can't come into my house. So, anyway, I had given him a death blow with a spray can, and
Okay.
he was just perfectly preserved. I mean, he was like he just stayed there, and so I did an experiment because I was afraid of spiders, my kids were afraid of spiders, so I literally, now this is a little gross, but I left the spider on the kitchen counter. Like, I pulled his little legs out and let him dry there, and I just left
Oh,
him there. But the funniest thing happened. He was there for
right.
2 weeks, and then I finally said, "I think I'm done with this experiment." But every time we'd walk in the room, you'd have that immediate, "Spider." But after a while, it was like, "Oh, yeah, hi, spider." You didn't react anymore to that spider. It was just like, "Oh, okay, you're there, now what do I do?" And that is, like, the case with all
Interesting.
bugs now. I see a wasp in the house, it's like, "Okay, you're in here, now what am I gonna do with you?" It's not, fear. It's,
It's
I see the
acceptance.
problem, what's the solution? So
I,
there's actually a name for that, and I can't think of it off the top of my head, but there's a process to overcome fear that's very similar to exposing yourself to it in small doses
yeah.
until it no longer scares you.
I'm not sure that I'm going to go as far as putting a spider on my kitchen cabinet. But although I did a similar thing though. I had a Halloween spider that was just a plastic thing that just I
Yeah, the
and
little ring.
yeah, similar to that, but it was meant to be a decoration that you put on a spider web somewhere outside your house, and it was a large spider, black spider, but it was definitely very plastic, and it fell off the Halloween decorations and landed on my porch steps, and I left it there, and then my son came to stay, and he is petrified of spiders, and when he walked out of the door, he was like. I,
She
I
just
did
made a very scary, funny face.
anyway. Yeah, so going back to so fear we need to overcome fear, and the way that you do that is by exposing yourself to the things that you're frightened of most in small doses, and you just have to do it. And actually the thought of doing things is often a lot worse than the actual doing of it, and the feeling afterwards. It's like public speaking. Lots of people are very scared of public speaking. And the more you do it, the more you actually get more confident with it, and you get more comfortable with it. And some people actually really enjoy doing it. So you just have to occasionally just like do it. If you're frightened of something, just do it.
Yes.
That we're kind of getting away from the
We
conversation about.
totally got off the track on that one. I mean, we were talking about the ideal client and the pain point of that ideal client.
Mhm.
And really, most of you can kind of put in pain points are usually fear related
Yeah,
and fear of not getting enough clients, fear of you're
yeah.
going to lose your business because your bills are due and you don't have, it's that's all fear.
Hmm. And fear of failure, and I think that word failure is terrifying, isn't it? Fear of people looking at you and what do you think you're doing? You failed again. Probably no one's actually looking at you that closely to analyze your life, to be honest. But that fear of you feeling like a failure, and I'm sure we all feel like that sometimes. But it's just learning that actually failure is the way that you learn. It's the bumps that you grow on, and it's without failing, you're not learning. And you just have to look at every experience that maybe doesn't go the way that you were hoping it to go and go, okay, so what have I learned from that? And how do I do that differently?
I just read something interesting that somebody wrote that I thought was kind of neat because I had never thought about it before. But he was talking about the lessons he's learned in life and who they were from. And he mentioned that fact that he learned how to ski when he was a teenager and how that taught him that failure was part of the process because you cannot learn to ski without falling. It is just like literally impossible. In fact, you'll fall probably for the first 3 days a lot. But then
Uh,
after that, you get it. But it takes those 3 days of persistence to work through all of those failures to understand the dynamics of the process of downhill skiing.
yeah,
And I thought that was a very good lesson to learn in general,
yeah,
that failure is part of the learning process. So is it a fail? No, to me, that's not a fail.
no,
Failure to me is falling and falling and falling and falling and never learning. That's when we
it's the
fail. Sorry.
it's the not learning from the process, isn't it? It's getting to week 19 and you're still falling over at skiing because you haven't learned that if you lean that way you're going to fall over, if you lean that way you're going to fall over, or where your balance has to be, or whatever it is that you learn from each different fall. But
Or you
actually
stubbornly believe that your way is the best way,
you're
whether
better
whether it works or
about
not.
changing it. Who is it that said that the definition of
Insanity.
insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result? So it's the learning from the failure that's the important bit. Also,
Ultimately, the more we identify that client and the pain points that we're helping them with, where are they in their journey and what do they need help understanding, or it could be a product, it could be skincare. Let's use that
mhm,
as an example. So you might have a woman who's targeting multiple. You might have somebody who's dealing with getting older, and we all know that's not much fun. And then, well, if you're young, you may not know that yet. And then you might have the teenagers that are dealing with the acne and the
Yeah.
the hormonal acne that happens even after you're a teenager. And so you have different people with different pain points, but by you identifying who you're going to target, even if it's just a
Mhm.
campaign, say you're going
Mhm.
to say, this month I'm going to target the people who struggle with acne, using skincare as an example. My messaging will now all speak to that target market because that's what my
Yeah.
marketing campaign does. That doesn't mean that 3 months from now I can't do a campaign that's targeting the older generation for the other aging. Everything falls off your face, but
That brings up a really good point though, doesn't it? That you tune your message specifically to that person that you at that point want to be talking to. And it can be different for different client bases. And that doesn't mean to say that your message is wrong at any point. It's just you're targeting a different person. And hopefully that resonates. We spoke with Deanna a few weeks ago about sometimes you can't talk to everybody. You can't be the right solution for everybody. And hopefully your message will speak to your ideal client so that it's your ideal client that eventually comes to you to solve the problem.
yeah.
Yeah.
And another factor of why that's important is if I'm marketing and I'm getting 100 phone calls and 99 of them are not my ideal client, I have wasted my entire week
Mm.
with clients that are not ready, able, or interested in what my service is.
Yeah.
So my marketing took my time and wasted it. Whereas when my marketing is clear,
Mm-hmm.
my messaging is clear, and I might get 10 to 15 phone calls or, leads on the internet or whatever, right? So you might get 10 or 15, but they're much more on target. They're much more closer to where you need them to be your client. And it's really not, for me, it's not about me.
Mm-hmm.
Business is about business, but really part of the reason that I do what I do and one of the reasons you do what you do is because we want to help
Yeah.
people. So there's
Yeah.
another level of that's just a human caring, but that doesn't
Yeah.
get really understood and felt until the person feels it. So
Yeah.
you can't fake that, which gets
No.
into another conversation for another week.
Another week.
So we're just going to
Yeah.
go all over the place. So I hope that helps at least basically explain the reasons, like what is a client avatar, how deep you have to dig into it,
Mhm.
and
And the
what,
importance of why you do it.
yes, yes, and why it's especially good before you start a marketing campaign to think about all that.
Yeah. That's great.
Sound good?
Sounds fantastic. Thank you. I enjoyed that.
And I think we will probably talk about that again in another way at another time.
Okay.
All right.
See you next episode. After all, it is your brand, your story, and your success. Because Ariel and I know you matter in your business.
Thank you for listening to the You Matter in Business podcast. Please follow, share, like, and comment. We would love to hear from you. This podcast is sponsored by Ariel Faith Photography and Enrich Life Coaching. The show notes provide more information on how to contact Ariel and Miriam and any guest speakers who share in our journey together.